Hey, beautiful souls, welcome back or welcome to the Hawk and I. My name is Lana Zelinsky and I work in the spirit dimensions. As always in all my videos, simply take what resonates and you're welcome to leave the rest right here. I've had a very interesting conversation today at council. I go to my spirit council usually every day, either with questions, looking for a deeper understanding, or just simply with wide open ears to listen to what council wants to share with me and to help me on my journey. What came up today at council was the topic of closure. And it was an interesting meeting because my council showed me many different parts of my journey where I seeked it, where I seek to have closure, where I wanted those answers that in some instances didn't receive. Now, we all have a story on our journey, and I'm sure many of you are nodding, yeah, I didn't get closure from that relationship, or I didn't get closure before that person passed away, or I really don't have an understanding on why I don't have any closure. Closure does have an impact on us because it doesn't give us an ending to something. And in this physical world, through our experiences, where we have a beginning of a story and an ending to a story. And when we don't get that ending to the story or those answers, sometimes it can leave us in this space of frustration, of feeling heavy, of perhaps some guilt, or even the word regret can come up when we don't have closure. I didn't get a chance to say that, and I regret not speaking it, or I regret not sharing my truth, or I regret that choice. And, you know, a lot of it is our learning experience here in the physical world. But a piece of that with us physical people is wanting permission to be okay. And that was one thing that council shared with me, is that we're seeking permission to be okay. And that permission needs to come from within us. Quite often we seek that closure from other people to give us permission to move forward. And I sat there for a moment. My first response was, I need to process that for a minute. I'm seeking closure from other people so that I can move on. And the longer I sat with that, and the longer I realized that a big part of being able to move forward is permission. It's permission to, the seeking of our feelings being validated, or a seeking of an understanding as to why we were treated a certain way. In order to have that closure from other people to help make us feel better about the decisions that we made to move forward. And sometimes we get closure and sometimes we do not. But the one thing about not getting closure is you can still tap into your higher self and sit in that for a moment or two and give yourself permission to have the closure. The other people's situations or behaviors or other people's learning does have an impact on us, depending on what we allow from it, what we take away from it. And that was one thing that Spirit said to me during a reflection of a part of my journey that I didn't have closure on. Spirit showed me the little piece, that little piece of a jigsaw puzzle that I hadn't looked at, was giving myself permission to be free from that, that closure from that situation through that learning needed to come from within me, that there was nothing anybody could say or do that was going to help give me that closure at that particular part of my journey. That I had to be the one to close the door, that I had to be the one to love and light myself and understand the healing and understand the processes without bringing in the need for validation or approval or an apology from anybody else. It needed to come from within me. Now, when it comes to a lot of there's a lot of feelings in this topic. In the topic of closure, there's a lot of feelings that come in. And those feelings, your feelings, are very valid. The anger, the disappointment, the fear, the not understanding, all that hurt is very real from within. And part of us seeking closure on that is to help heal and soothe those hurt feelings. Yeah. And with those hurt feelings, we can tap into our own energy and giving ourselves permission to feel, giving ourselves permission that it's okay to have these feelings. And it's also okay to give ourselves the permission for closure. Now, one of the greatest things that we can do for ourselves in current time is to practice, speaking our own truth. Because when we speak our own truth, quite often we get some closure along the way when we start to live that way. Not everybody has to understand our truth. Not everybody will understand our truth. As long as you understand your truth and you feel that you feel into your own truth. But there are times in our past that perhaps the person that we need closure with, to do it together with, because sometimes it's both people that may need closure. So what do you do when you need closure on something when someone has passed? Big topic. Because there are many times, depending on the experiences with our journey, either somebody has information that we seek, or we seek an answer to, perhaps it was, like, why didn't you accept me? Or why did this happen between us and you wouldn't talk to me? There are many, you can insert your own experiences in that, but there are many situations where we may have lived our lives completely disconnected from someone, and we never got the opportunity here in the physical world to heal it or to share our truth as to where we stand, or share how certain situations affected the rest of our journey, and the work that we've had to do, in regards to that situation to be okay. And, this is the real big one when it comes to people who have passed, because sometimes it's at that moment that we realize that we didn't say the things that we wanted to say. We didn't heal, perhaps, or work on the healing that could have transpired between two people. And we often realize at the time of somebody's passing that there was no closure. And, that's a big one. However, it is still very much possible. It's still possible to heal through that and to work through that and to get a deeper understanding that closure comes from within. And the closure that we often need, we feel that it needs to come out of somebody else's mouth. Somebody needs to either apologize, or somebody else needs to do this or needs to do that. When Spirit's perspective on the closure and moving forward is it comes from within us, and we can still speak it. We can still speak to someone who has passed. We can still share how we feel, and we can still tap into healing that part of us that for so long, or for a shorter period of time, was seeking that closure. To be able to get that closure and to be able to close those doors, a lot of that work comes from within us, from being able to forgive, to be able to move forward, to be able to have a deeper understanding of who we are and how we're going to choose to allow that to affect us. There's a very empowering piece to learning a lot of lessons through difficult experiences. And sometimes it's other people that bring us that difficult experience. The one thing that I have worked really hard on is taking the lessons in my difficult experiences and formulating a pathway to allow myself a deeper understanding, and a pathway to allow that healing, and a pathway to acknowledge that this is part of my story. This is part of my journey. These are some of my lessons, and I'm going to now choose what power I want to stand in that. What power do I want to stand in? And it's, and it's different for all of us. And every single one of us has very deep connections to our past experiences that have brought us to where we are today. But it's never, ever too late to stand in your own power and acknowledge and give yourself some closure, giving yourself permission to acknowledge what happened and be able to move forward from where you stand. It was an interesting conversation, and one that I will sit with even a little bit longer and kind of reflect a little bit of my own journey on. Is there a few things that still need that TLC of healing and closure? And again, from within me, because it has to come from within me. I do hope that you enjoyed this little chit chat on closure. I hope that it brings you some peace and some love and an opportunity to kind of sit and perhaps give yourself permission for closure. Much love, beautiful souls. As always, I'm wishing you love, light, blessings, and a spirit-guided day.